My goodness. My audio was not good this whole time. There we go. Couldn't hear me. But guys, this is our tenets that we go by inside of our group here. We have intentionality, which is mindset mastery. We have financial mastery, which is also financial literacy. Then we have structures, which we call system mastery. What systems do you put in your business? And then we have actions. It all comes down to actions, guys. Execution mastery. So if you're in this group, you're looking to take your business to the next level, wherever you may be. We call this 10-figure business mastery because that's attainable for you. All right, as long as you consistently and reliably take the actions and have the right mindsets and have the right understanding inside your business, there is no limit to where you can take this thing. And I'm excited to be here with you today. Last week we talked about sole proprietors, and we've been talking about structures this whole year and systems this whole year. We've been in a conversation about that third pillar, but today we're going to talk about just the overall entrepreneurship journey. I'm excited to be here with Idris Talib today. I'm going to bring him on the line, all right, as we get started here. Okay, we're actually doing a little bit of a pivot from what we've been talking about over the last couple of months inside of our mastermind group here. But I'm going to bring Idris on. If you didn't know Idris has a great story, right? I'm going to bring him on. We're just going to have a real good conversation about entrepreneurship, this journey, and what it really takes to win in the game of entrepreneurship. All right. Idris, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, hear you very well. How you doing?
Excellent. Good to be with you, brother.
Yeah, good to be here as well.
I say brother because, some people have like second and third cousins. Idris and I are like second or third brothers or something like that.
Right.
Right. If you didn't know, like some of you guys know Idris, if you're watching from his stream and everything, and you've been following him for a little while. Idris and I have known each other for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Idris is my brother's wife's sister's son's father.
Right.
Can you follow me on that, people?
Right.
Right. So yeah, he's actually one of my brothers, man, extended brothers. Our children, well, his son was born the same year as my daughter, which is also born the same year as my nephew, my brother's son.
Right.
All our kids are the same age.
Yep.
They all are turning 20 this year.
Yep.
Which is crazy. Yeah. So Idris, man, welcome to the Business Mastermind Group today. I appreciate you hopping on with me and having the time to have this conversation. Talk to me, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. For those of us that do not know you, tell us your background.
Okay.
Where are you from? Like, what do you do? How'd you get involved with entrepreneurship? And just tell us everything about you real quick.
Hear me clear? Can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, I always tell people that I'm a corporate failure saved by entrepreneurship. So as a matter of fact, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur growing up. I was raised in North Carolina in a small town outside of Raleigh called Wilson, North Carolina. I was a straight A student. I ended up going to college for engineering. So my plans would be a computer engineer. My goal in life was to make $100,000. I was going to save 25% of my check, and hopefully by age 55, I'll be able to have an early retirement. That was my game plan right there. When I ended up going to college, I ended up playing basketball. And when I played basketball, we had a private plane. We're flying all over the world, staying at 5-star resorts. I said, man, I like this. I said, I want to live this lifestyle. The only problem was I knew my riches wasn't going to come from basketball because I was the last guy on the bench, and I averaged 0.7 points a game. And, you don't get NBA contracts averaging 0.7 points a game. So one of my buddies in college, she told me to take a personal finance class. And I took the personal finance class, and I learned that most millionaires were self-made. On the last day of class, my professor said, if you're serious about personal finances, read books. So I kept hearing about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I went to a bookstore, and when you're in college, you get these small credit cards with limits of like $200. I ended up maxing out my credit card on every single book in his series. And then that's when my eyes opened up about entrepreneurship. I was like, wow, this is great. So upon leaving college, I had a job offer in Atlanta to do technical sales with AT&T, but unfortunately, I came out when the tech bubble burst. So they rescinded that offer, and I got into financial services. And throughout my career, I did institutional investments. I was a stockbroker on Wall Street, and then that's when I shifted into entrepreneurship. That was around 2008. I've owned a restaurant. I've owned a medical practice. I've invested in real estate. So those are my three main niches right there: healthcare, real estate, as well as um, I just lost my train of
Restaurants.
thought.
Yeah,
Restaurants.
man. All right, awesome, man. That some of those things I didn't know. I really didn't know that you had restaurant background either. That's new for me. And just that story about just going to school. You had this plan. You were going to live out the blueprint, get a job,
Right,
and make that 6-figure income and retire at 55. And
right,
then it was like, whoa, there's another level to life that I never even thought about. And through the introduction of this philosophy of your teacher to introduce you to finance and Rich Dad Poor Dad, man, takes you on a whole new trajectory, entrepreneurship.
right.
Now,
It
I will
does.
say this, man, like you and I like similar with that because that's really where I was at the same time. Like Robert Kiyosaki came out with those books way back then, and that was my thing too. I had that book, Wealth Without Risk, with Charles Givens, and then Robert Kiyosaki had his books, the whole series of books around the same time. And I was like, man, this is where I want to be inside of
Right.
entrepreneurship. Right. And I did the same thing. I went through all those books. I had Rich Dad Poor Dad. He had Cash Flow Quadrant, Rich Dad's
Uh huh.
Guide to
Yep.
Investing. All those books, man. I just poured myself into it, and I was like, yeah, this
Right.
is the route to go to.
Exactly.
And from then, it would just confirm like the spirit inside me, which is the spirit of an entrepreneur. Always known,
Hmm.
right? I've always known, but that confirmed, and I've been on that journey ever since myself. And there's a passion that is inside of. If you're watching this, you might feel the same thing. There's a passion and a drive inside of just one to not just be your own boss, but to create something, to build something,
Right.
to let
Yep.
somebody say that nobody can say that I did not do something while I was here, right? I'm
Right.
my own person, right?
Right.
There are no limits to what I can do. It's just up to what I decide, what I choose,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And the journey can be rough at the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not for everyone.
Right.
Right. I know you have some stories and everything about that,
Yeah.
as far as like the journey and like the challenges, and then like how to keep one foot in front of the other, right?
Right.
Even in spite of what the circumstances are, in spite of what happens in life. Like, talk to me a little bit about that, man. Like, what have been some of your challenges that you faced, and,
Yeah. I'll
and
say.
how have you been able to overcome them?
So you may not even know this. So the biggest thing. So this is when I was in my 20s. So when I was in my 20s, I was very ambitious. I was doing real estate investing, but I was doing small single family residence. And I used to watch The Apprentice. This is before I knew about Donald Trump and all his little political affiliations and everything. But he does like these $100 million developments and stuff. And I was like, man, I would love to do something like this. So I went to church one Sunday, and my preacher was like, look, I have a vision to recreate this whole community. So the type of community surrounding the church, there's a lot of crime, drugs, prostitution, real low income, real indigent populations, low education levels. And my preacher, his vision was for the church to become the centerpiece of the community, and we wanted to redevelop the community. And I'm young and ambitious. I'm in my 20s. I go to my preacher. I said, look, you're going to need some help with this. I have zero experience doing anything this massive, but I'm willing to give you 100% of everything because I really believe in what you're doing. And as a matter of fact, I'm so committed, I'll quit my job and come work with you full time and everything. Now, the problem with that was, now, Jesse, it was Sean. I had a young baby at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't speak this over with her at all. So my son at the time, I believe he was 2 years old. So think about this. You know,
Yeah.
I'm making six figures, things are going well and everything. I decided I'm just gonna quit to go after this dream and everything. So that didn't sit well with her. You know, she was into job security and everything. So back then we started bumping heads because she was thinking I was being irresponsible, and I was thinking, well, you don't believe in me. So we started bumping heads and everything. Then we ended up going our separate ways. But boy, was she right. that
Yeah.
next that next 18 months. So the problem was the predecessor at that church ruined the church's credit. So we weren't able to get any financing in place. And because we didn't have the credit, and then we didn't have all of the revenue from the church to act as collateral, no investor wanted to come in because, like I said, it was over $100 million overtaking. And with that, I had zero income whatsoever. I
Wow.
remember
Yeah.
I went to court. I got behind on child support, and they're like, "Do you realize people at Burger King make more money than you?" And that's when my eyes got open. And then I said, "You know what? I need to do a reset, or like we always say, we need to make a pivot." And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
that's what transitioned me to Charlotte. So then I'll say my second challenge like that was. Once I left being a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley, I started medical practice. And that thing, I mean, we grew by leaps and bounds. I ended up having offices in Raleigh, Charlotte, Greenville, Columbia, Williamson, Atlanta, as well as Marietta. I think around that time, at the peak, I was doing anywhere between $60,000 and $100,000 of revenue every single week.
Mm.
And then all of that just came crashing down. I remember the day like it was yesterday. It was February February 18, 2018. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I get this loud knock on my door. I was standing in the condo in Midtown. It was like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, who is this at my door at 2 o'clock in the morning? I thought it was just some drunk people playing games and stuff or whatever. But no, it was the police. It was the Fulton County Sheriff. So I opened the door, guys pointing guns at me. To my, let me see your hands. I'm like, what's going on? They said, we had 2 warrants for your arrest out of South Carolina. I said, what's this all about? So they handcuffed me. One of them was false statement by a medical provider. Another one was obtaining property under false pretenses. So I get booked in Fulton County, which is Atlanta. I was booked there for a week. Then I got extradited to South Carolina. I go to my bond hearing, and the attorney general, he's the attorney for the whole state. He shows up, said, we want to set bond at $250,000 cash. I was like, oh my mouth just dropped.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, I ended up bonding out, and I had to pay back $400,000 in 6 months. So basically, in my business, we had some therapists who were putting in documentation that they were seeing clients, but they weren't seeing the clients, and then we were billing on those clients. So basically, it was Medicaid fraud. So nonetheless, I'll make a long story short, I wasn't able to pay back the money. I got sentenced to 5 years. I ended up doing 2 of those years, and I lost everything whatsoever. So the first thing I left prison with nothing whatsoever. I ended up I was renting a room out in one of these rooming houses and everything. And then, I had to build everything back from scratch. And that's one of the challenges that I had to overcome. And that was about 2.5 years ago. And, just through this and hard work, I've been able to build just about every single thing back, from scratch.
Wow. Wow. Every time I hear that, man, I'm like, in awe of that story. There's a lot more to go along with that, I know.
Right.
And if you're listening to this, like Idris just shared his story, there are some like nooks and crannies in the details about what it really does take to navigate your way through the journey of entrepreneurship. Like it's not sweet all the time, right? It's not sweet all the time, and then we can easily, give our power away to circumstance, the situations. We can have our reasons for why it is that we're not going to succeed at what we do, And there's a choice available. And what I'm hearing inside of what you're sharing, Idris, is like you're just making the choice to just succeed. It's a choice
Right.
to succeed. Success is a choice, and there's no
Right.
more evidence to that than you sharing your story here. Because how many of us would just crumble and fall, even in our early 20s? We say, "Hey, look, man, I was like that too, man. I was like, hey, I'm gonna make it happen." In 20s, I'm like, I
Right.
can do whatever, you know, make a decision. I don't know if I would have quit with the kids and everything off the bat, but I feel you, man. It's like, well, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do,
Right.
and I'll make it work, right? That's the
Right.
level of confidence inside of the being, of entrepreneurship. And I really do get that, right? So you make that choice, and then things just don't work out the way that we think that they would work out initially,
Exactly.
and that's life. It doesn't work out that
Right.
way. But who are you going to be about it? Is the question. Who do you and I get
Right.
to be in these situations to be able to walk it
Right.
through? And I think a lot of the people that watch and chime in, that contribute and participate in what we're doing here in this webinar series and what we're doing here in the mastermind group, they go through these challenges. Right, they go through all these things, and it might not even be as severe. Who could imagine, right? If you can imagine, you're sleeping in your room, and all of a sudden you get a knock at the door. You're in dreamland, man.
Right.
It's like I finally get some rest, and how many of us know what
Right.
it's like? Like, I mean, I went to bed at like after midnight last night, working on projects for my company, and
Mm.
I woke up at 4:30 this morning to go to the gym, right? And I've been up ever since. Right. But when we get that sleep, it's like, yeah, I'm just getting that
Right.
good rest. Right.
Right. Right.
And then all of a sudden this knock comes at the door and you just uprooted. And
Right.
it's not just uprooted from your slumber, it's uprooted from life.
Right.
Right. Something that you've never expected before. It's like life turned upside down, and it's like calamity and catastrophe.
Right.
And who are you going to be about it? Right.
Right.
That whole story is amazing to me. Like coming out the gate, and it's like what you hear in the books, what people talk about. Like if I lost everything, I could just build it right back up,
Right.
just because of where I've been in life, because of the understanding that I have. And if you're like a lot of people, you read these things like, yeah, right, that's not really possible. Well, here
Right.
it is. It's possible. It's possible. It's not even just possible. It's probable when you have the right mindset about it.
Right.
Right. So that's
Yep.
fantastic, man. I don't know if we really do truly get it, but there's a lot to go along with that. That persistent and relentless, unreasonable life that says, I'm going to have what I say just because I say so.
Exactly.
Period.
Right.
That's fantastic, right?
Right.
So what are you up to nowadays, man? What are you doing?
Okay. So I'm investing in real estate full time, and I have basically two niches. So I do high end residential real estate. So with that, what I do is my target market is self-employed entrepreneurs who generate massive revenues in their business. However, during tax time, they write everything off. So when it comes time to get approved for a mortgage, they show their income. They don't want to pay taxes on all that revenue that they're generating. So that becomes a problem. I can help them get into that $700,000 house that they're accustomed to living to instead of only being approved for $200,000. Right now, is we are attacking the affordable housing crisis. Okay, and the way that we're doing that is with shared living spaces. And the wonderful opportunity with that is I'm able to make substantial cash flow, and at the same time, I'm able to help a lot of people get housing that they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. And the
Mm,
value proposition, when I talk about it as a financial vehicle, is imagine that you can receive multi-family profits on a single-family residence, and that's exactly what I'm doing. For example, I just picked up a house last week. One of them it was originally 4 bedrooms, but now we converted it into 6 bedrooms. And then now we have another house under contract right now. It's a 7 bedroom. We're going to convert that to 9 bedrooms. And the
wow.
wonderful thing about that is they pay weekly. So on that 9 bedroom, if they pay that weekly, I just created 36 streams of income in 1 month just by
Say that one
positioning
more time. How many
to
streams of
acquire that
income?
house.
How many?
36.
36.
36,
36
nine bedrooms
in
times
one
4 weeks
month.
a year. 4 weeks a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
man.
and it's just I mean, it's a blessing. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating infrastructure that's going to allow us to continue to scale. So I need to hire some more people, and I need to put all of my systems in place to ensure that I'm able to work on the business and not necessarily in the business so much.
Yeah, I actually saw that like you're doing the story, Facebook story, like when you
Right,
were going through those property or that was most recent property last week, showing all the rooms and everything. I was like, man, that's like fantastic. like like just seeing the opportunities that are available inside of life. You said
right,
something before about entrepreneurs not being able to get financing or mortgages on homes because you want to write things off. You don't want to overpay in taxes. Definitely, you don't want to overpay, and at the same time, you need to show money to be able to
right.
support a home. But you're able to get them into the home
Yep,
regardless.
yep.
Yeah, we said that, but it was kind of you said it and stepped over. It's like, well, what? That's kind of big deal, man. That's a kind of a big deal because a lot of people face that. I know I work with a lot of people on the tax and accounting and advisory side when it comes to
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. That's one of the big things. I know I have a client that they were working to get into a house. They couldn't get into it for years, right? Because the financials weren't there to support it. They just didn't have the financials to begin with. That's one
Right,
side of it. But then a lot of companies, a lot of individuals, entrepreneurs, they will have the financials, and those financials will indicate like they didn't make any money
right,
because they're writing every single thing off. So
right.
low tax bill, right? Well, how does that actually work for people to do? Like, what do you do with somebody who's an entrepreneur? I'm coming to you and say, hey, look, man, yeah, I've been trying for a long time to get into
Mhm.
a place. And I just haven't been able to make it work. What can you do for me?
Right. So what I do is I look at some indicators. The first thing I want to know is, can you afford this house? So what I look at is I look at where you living right now, and where have you lived probably over the last 2 or 3 years, and then more than likely you are paying rent. Well, how much is your rent? Because that's going to kind of show me or kind of give me an indicator of your affordability index right there. So for example, um, you may be paying, I don't know, $3,500, $4,000 a month in rent. You've never been late. Okay. So the next thing that I want to look at is your credit. Okay. So if I look at your credit and I can see over the past 2 years that you haven't been behind on anything, and then I show that you're living in a house for 2 years and you've never been late, it tells me you can afford it, even though
Hmm.
you may only, even though from an income perspective, because that basically it's just accounting, you're only showing that you make $40,000 or whatever. You're showing me you can afford that $600,000 house because you're not behind on anything of your credit. I look at your debt to income ratio as well to make sure you're not overextending yourself, and I look and see that you're able to afford this house. All right, so I know that you can afford this house. Once I know that or whatever, that's when I get to work. Okay, so I'm going to go identify a property, and I'm probably going to acquire it with seller financing. So I'm going to acquire property with seller financing, and then I'm going to sell the house with seller financing as well. So basically, I am going to become kind of the middleman to it's going to allow you to get into that house where you'll eventually be able to own that house. And then if you want to, you can either go under the guidelines that we have set forth with the seller financing. Now, I will tell you, because it is seller financing, your interest rate will be higher than what it'll be if you go through a traditional lender because it's more risk. Now,
Yeah.
another thing as well though is this is not going to show up in your credit report.
Mm.
So, from a risk management standpoint, it can be helpful for you as well. But if you want to lower that payment over the next 2 or 3 years, or whatever, you can work with someone like Chesson or whatever to get your financials in order to where you then can go back to the bank and you can get approved for a mortgage. And then we're going to have a closing to where it's going to buy out that seller financing, and then everybody, well, I'm going to get paid, and then the seller of the house will get paid, and then you get the keys to your own house. So
Wow,
that's generally the cycle of how that works.
man, that's a lot going on there, man. It's a lot of great stuff. And what I'm hearing inside of that, it's like it's no different. Like this strategy is no different than what the financial institutions do anyway. You're
Right.
just bringing it down to the private level, like the
Yep.
individual level. and making an opportunity available where there would not be otherwise for people to get into the homes that they want, really the homes of their dreams that they want to,
Right.
rather than perpetually renting. They have the prospect of home ownership now inside of that.
Yep.
Fantastic, man. Um, you know, so much to hear to talk about today, like with you. Like I know I can have a conversation with you all day long about these
Right.
things, you know. But there's so much inside of like creativity and being able to use just what's between your ears
Right.
to create something inside of business and inside of life.
Right.
And a lot of times we'll think that there's something outside of us that has to be right, like the stars have to align in order for me to
Right.
have the
Yeah, it's
the
never gonna
results
be a
that
line. That's not gonna happen.
right,
Right.
right. But there are things that we do like pattern lines or routines or like things that work if we just apply them. Like what would you say are like the top like 2 to 3 things in your life that you would like lean on when it comes to just making things happen in life for yourself?
Okay. So I would say right now, so let's look at the landscape that we're in. We're in the information age. Everything is dominated by Google, and now we have implementation. There's really information at our fingertips. I would say now is that it's not information that we're lacking, it's implementation that we're lacking. So
Yeah,
basically, implementation over information, because implementation is going to give you information instead of just reading something. By applying it, you're getting real life feedback loops of what works and what doesn't work. And when something is working, you continue on that path. And when something doesn't work, you just reset and you make minor modifications until it does work. And eventually, you're going to run out of stuff that doesn't work, and you're going to start to build trajectory. And it's going to take you to putting one foot in front of the or in front of the other to help you get towards your destination. And of course, as you're walking, you're going to slip, you're going to fall, but pick yourself back up, implement some more, take that feedback of what didn't work, and now you're able to have something that can become sustainable for yourself.
yeah, yeah. What you're saying is profound because it is about really just stop all the whining and get down, get to work.
Right,
Stop all the whining and get to work. And when I say that, it means like, well, there's so much paralysis of analysis that we can't do because there's a lot of information out there. And it's not that; it's what you said was implementation, which is actually going out here and applying what you actually learn for yourself.
right,
And the feedback loop is life in and of itself. You'll get traction here in certain areas, but it's up to you and I to see that traction where we're getting the job done versus the areas where we're not, and then not taking life so personally, right?
right,
Because that can take us out. Like like looking at all the things that are not working instead of looking at the things that are, that will take us out,
correct,
right? We won't see all the stuff that's working, and we won't be able to put the pieces together and see that pattern and continue to focus on those things. A lot of the times, we'll think that we'll take a hit. I know I lost a lot in 2008. I was doing the real estate thing too, heavily leveraged inside of that. Lost almost everything in 2008,
right,
and it did take me out for a while. Like a couple of years, it took me. I was like, man, I ain't doing this no more.
right,
I got mouths to feed and put my
right,
family at risk and everything.
right,
And I will say this: the better approach that I would say the approach that is effective is to keep going,
right.
because there's
Yep.
some things in there that actually worked. I was able to do a lot inside of that. I was able to build accumulate a lot of assets, a lot of wealth and cash flow and all these things I was able to do,
Mhm.
right? And there's a philosophy to that. It just keeps on going in other areas, like how to flip things,
Right,
opportunities into more cash is what I'm hearing inside
right,
of what you're doing is just taking the
right,
opportunity and flipping it into more cash and understanding
right,
that, right? Um, I am in the accounting field and I'm in this field, originally I was in computer science, applied computer science. That's what I went to school for.
right,
I never did anything with that, man. I went
right,
out and started a business, started a cleaning service. First thing I did when I got out of school. was carpet cleaning was where I was, right? Had that service going on and expanded into more cleaning services. And then it was going good, but then I didn't understand an aspect of business, like the marketing side of it, didn't understand. So business dried up. And the mindset was, I just don't know what I'm doing. I must not have it right. So there's a pause in the activity.
Right.
Maybe I need to shift into something else, is what I
Mhm.
said. And no, this is what I really want people to get inside this conversation. You have to be relentless with things. You got to be relentless. Know that you will
Absolutely.
succeed in what you're doing. Know that you
Right.
want to make the fine-tuned adjustments in life
Right.
to make sure that you get out of life what you say.
Exactly.
Don't worry about what happens in terms of setbacks or challenges, we call them. Focus on what's working and keep pushing it forward, keep moving it forward. Right, that is the only way to get to the next levels in business. Otherwise, you'll be succumb to all your reasons, right?
Yep.
Reasons of life.
Yep.
What would it be like to live an unreasonable life?
Right. I like that. I like that.
Right.
Hold on. That's a soundbite. Y'all, I would write that down. Let me put that in my phone.
An
Yeah,
unreasonable
that's a good
life,
one.
man.
Live
An
an
unreasonable being gets unreasonable results, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's
I
what that
love that
is,
one.
right?
Yes.
So we can do that in life. And it may sound like conceptual while we're here talking about it, because I know people go through this stuff. It's like, no, but you don't understand, Chester. You don't understand,
Right.
Idris. My situation is such and such. Like, yeah, I got it.
Right.
It's all about what you're going to do, who you're going to be, man. It's like, there's so many things that I go through from the application standpoint. People don't get it. Everything is about what Idris was just saying, implementation.
Mhm.
I have people that work in our staff and accounting, and a lot of times they don't see the big picture. They don't get the implementation. It takes somebody who understands like how these things are applied in real life, like boots on the ground, to really navigate and understand and see how to help move
Right.
things forward in your business, right?
Right.
But you have to come with that mindset for yourself each and every day. What's the big picture? What is it that I'm here for? Like we call that intentionality. Like, what am I here
Mhm.
for?
Right.
Right. And how does this apply to what I'm here for? And keep that focus. That is what it is, a
Mhm.
focus on
Right.
what I'm creating out here, and not be
Right.
distracted by everything else.
Right. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Like that implementation aspect of what you just said. And it
Right.
is that, man. It's just like, well, this works. That doesn't work. Let me do more of this.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean,
And
you
keep
hit
it
it on the
simple.
head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing, because sometimes we can overcomplicate things, or something looks all the shiny object. Something looks all
Yeah.
sexy over here. Let's run up, and then because a lot of
Focus.
entrepreneurs by nature, we are optimistic, and a lot of us, it's kind of like, when you combine optimism with somebody who has kind of ADD, because a lot of them do have ADD, they're
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
over the place. So,
You'll never get
yeah,
anywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Yeah, there was that conversation that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett had, where they were asking about what they attribute their success to, and each one of them said focus. That's what it is. It's focus. What are we focused on? And what you said, that shiny object syndrome, we think there's something wrong with like the circumstance. It's not. There's not anything wrong with the circumstance. It's just the focus that I have.
right,
What am I doing? What am I putting my time and effort into consistently and reliably? It's like if I go to the gym once, I'm not going to get the
right,
result.
right,
Right? If I go once
correct,
this month and then once next month, or once this week and then
right,
once next week, I'm not going to get the
right,
result. But
correct,
if I go consistently every single day, it doesn't matter how
right,
much work I do in that one day. Like I can
right,
lift for like 4 or 5 hours that whole day and run
right,
and sprint for that whole time period, and I'm not going to have the result. It is the
right,
absolute focus that I have over time that will deliver.
correct. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
that is what
Day
I
in,
get
day
from
out.
what you shared.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, look, man, I really do want to hear some more stuff, man,
Okay.
because like you're talking about like the opportunities inside of real estate. You're
Mhm.
talking about home ownership possibilities for entrepreneurs, which is a
Right.
big thing. Housing market is like uncertain for a lot of folks. They don't know
Right.
what's going on with the housing market.
Right.
Um, and interest rates are on the rise. And you just said
Mhm.
that you most likely, if you're going to go through owner financing, your interest rates are going to be even higher.
Correct.
Right? So these are things that people, when people hear them, like if you're listening, you hear them like, man, that doesn't sound like it's good or whatever. Right. This is
Right.
another thing about focus. Like, what are we actually looking to accomplish, and does it work? Right. So talk to
Right.
us about that. Like, there's a win-win scenario in there for
Right.
people. Right.
The biggest thing is you're having an opportunity to where you can actually own a house without necessarily having to qualify for it. And that's attractive for a lot of entrepreneurs. That's very attractive because in order for you to be able to even qualify for a mortgage, there's so much that has to take place. You got to show 2 or 3 years of consistent tax returns. You're going to actually have to pay taxes on that. You have to qualify for that loan amount that you're seeking. And that can be quite a financial undertaking for yourself. So this kind of it accelerates the path of home ownership. Not only that, there are so many different type of investment opportunities that are out here. Right now the world is in flux. Things are just constantly changing all the time. And when there's so much change, people get real scared.
Hmm.
And when people are scared, that's when there's so many opportunities out here. I mean, let's look at it. There's a lot of individuals right now. They are they're going to be defaulting on their mortgages. Well, that presents an opportunity because the last thing that you want to do is get a foreclosure on your credit report because that's going to destroy you for the next 10 years. So, as a real estate entrepreneur, I can actually come in. I can help these individuals not have to go through foreclosure. I
Hmm.
can help save their credit. And then I'm able to gain access to an asset that I personally don't need to qualify for. That's called subject to investing. I can actually buy a house subject to the existing financing. So the financing stays in place. I just have to come to the table and bring that mortgage current. And as a matter of fact, as a real estate entrepreneur, I don't even need to use any of my money. There's other individuals who are looking to get into a house. Well, they're going to have to put money down. We use that money to bring that mortgage current. I'll get the deed, and then I will sell or finance that house out to these other individuals who are sick and tired of paying rent month in, month out, month in, month out. I'm in Atlanta, in a city like Atlanta, rent is going up exponentially. It's going up. I mean, it just keeps going up, 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 up. And people they're just getting sick and tired of it. They're like, what am I getting for my rent going up every single month? Now, owning a house is not for everyone. It's not. If you're somewhere where you travel a lot, you don't know where you're going to be and everything, it may not make sense to own a home. But if you're in a place to where you want some stability, it may make sense because not only is rent going up, property values are going up as well.
Yeah.
So that's really what you want long term. You want to participate in some of that equity buildup in your house. I mean, I see houses right now. 3 or 4 years ago, these houses were like $100,000 to $200,000. Now these houses are $400,000 and $500,000. That's a substantial amount of appreciation these houses have experienced. And then by you being able to leverage that equity in that house, that can help spring roll some other things that you're looking to do, maybe into your business to help you grow and expand. So there's just so many different opportunities out here, especially on the real estate front, and even being an entrepreneur. Because one
Hmm.
thing I haven't told you since we last talked, one of the things I've done now is I partner with this individual, and what we're doing is we're doing some business consulting. So basically, we look for businesses that have experienced high growth, but they don't have infrastructure set up. And it's really three ways we help them. We help them with consulting, help them with marketing, and then also help them. If they need any type of office space or whatever, offering those solutions. And the best thing is, and this kind of goes down to one of the tenets that I'm working on right now is, I don't know if you ever read a book. It's called Who Not How. So one of the things that I'm doing is instead of me being the subject matter expert helping people and everything, I don't need to be that anymore. I'm going to find individuals who are subject matter experts, and and I'm going to utilize them to create the solutions for whatever it is that my clientele is looking for. And in return, I'm just project managing all of these subject matter experts to ensure quality is been implemented into these businesses and everything. And then we're all able to make money that way.
Man, that is fantastic, man. Like what I'm hearing inside of your share with this, again, it's just the creativity, right?
Right.
If we don't like lean in on our creativity, this is your moneymaker. I have a friend or somebody in a community with me, and they do an interior design business. They have an interior design business, right?
Mhm.
But it's like transformational interior design. It's like, well, people don't even realize how much their house and their environment is costing them. It's costing them millions of dollars. It's destroying their relationships. It's causing them to go into an early grave just because of just because of your environment that you live in, the way you
Right.
designed it. Right?
Wow. That's
Right.
powerful.
Yeah. So he comes in, he's able to help people improve their income, like up level their income, have better relationships and have more vitality just by the way they design the house. Right. You can't put a
Wow.
price tag on that. That's
Wow.
creativity, right?
That is. That's a value. I never thought about it like that, but that's so true. I never
Yeah.
thought about that way. Wow.
Yeah. How much life is being sucked out of you daily just because of where you like your environment. Right. And
Right.
you don't even know about it. You just walk around feeling a certain way.
Right.
And you're in this fog and you never actually get the things out of life that you want. And
Wow.
this is the level of thinking like that we want to be on. Like what I'm hearing inside of you is the same thing. It's just like creating solutions for people. It's
Right.
being able to think creatively. Um, Now it's easy to get caught up inside of what's not working in life. This is like we're designed like human beings, like people. We're designed to actually look for what's not what's
Right.
wrong here, right? we're built to look for threats, and because of that, we don't necessarily see the opportunities all the time. We're not built for that.
Right.
By nature, it takes something to develop, and it's possible. That is something that is uniquely human as well. Is our ability to actually see these opportunities,
Mhm.
able to program ourselves to recognize when things are solutions to problems and capitalize on these things.
Right.
And it's not necessarily always capitalizing on them. It's that we create so much value in the solution that we just command so much more. That
That's
is it.
it. That's it. That is it. Right. Yeah.
That
I'm
is
with you
it.
100% on that. That is it.
So yeah, that's exactly where I'm hearing that you're at with that. Just the business consulting aspect and making sure that people like they're growing fast and they're looking to make sure they have sustainable growth. That's a big deal with what we do is to make sure
Correct.
that people have sustainable growth because people just want to grow and then they're not ready to fulfill it. It's all of a sudden all they work for is just at risk because they don't have the
Right.
sustainability inside the systems. We've been in that conversation in this group about structures and systems. That's why, because we want to have
Mhm.
sustainable growth. But what does it really look like to provide solutions, right? If you're listening to this conversation, what can you take for yourself inside of this? This is what I'm posing the question to the people that are watching. If you're watching the recording of it, like what is it that you could take for yourself from this conversation? All right. And
Yeah.
I would say the main things to take from this are number one, recognize where you're focused because this is really about mindset, right? Recognize like where you're focused. If you can acknowledge this, if we can actually be aware of where the attention is going, then we can start directing the attention to the things that will actually cause us to increase our value. Like off the bat, I don't see any place that you can drop Idris off in the middle of a desert or in the jungle, and all of a sudden, all the monkeys and all the all the animals, man, they done built an empire around what Idris has created.
Yeah. You got to figure it out. No, you're
Yeah,
right.
that's what's going to happen, right? And that's where we all want to be.
Mhm.
That's where we all want to be. We want to be that person in life. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. We're talking about
Right.
unreasonable life, man. It doesn't matter the reasons.
Right.
So,
No, I love that.
I mean, we are going to start wrapping this up. And usually we get
Okay.
wrapped up around 10:45. It's 10:47. It's been a great conversation to be in with you. And thank you for being on. I definitely want to get you back on at some point in time, just talk about some other
Yes.
things in life. All right. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys chiming in wherever you are. If you're watching the replay recording, just make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, and see you next week. All right, guys, take care.